What's up, Instagram Live, Facebook Live? Nice to see you all. Happy early morning, afternoon, evening, regardless of where you're tuning in. Late night snack for some of you. As you're tuning in, we are on day number 56 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. Today's topic is there more negative or positive happening in the world right now? So real quick to start off, I'd love to take a survey. If you're in the comments section on here, I'd love to know real quick, do you believe that there's more positive or more negative happening in the world at this point in history? Also, while you're tuning in, I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know 3 things you're grateful for. I saw Romania is in the house. Welcome. Let's see, depends on what your mind from caused on. So someone says, Becky says more positive in the world. Andrea says more positive in the world. Nice to see you all. Brooklyn, New York, what's up? Orlando, Florida, but I'm in Wales. Very fun. Hello from Sydney. Nice to see you. So the question from the Netherlands, welcome. More positive in the world. And so the question is, do you feel that there's currently more positive or more negative in the world right now? Edmonton, Canada, Brazil, welcome, welcome. Grateful for life, health, and my son. Jonathan, welcome. Andrea says, Peter Dimon has proved there's more positive. I like to think there's more positive, but probably only because I'm looking for it. Hello from Italy. Okay. So here is something I was talking about with a few clients today. Moon says more negative in the world, more positive for sure. So it goes back and forth a little. And so today I was talking to a few different clients about this concept, and it's really simple. There was a book written by a gentleman who wrote The Happiness Advantage. I think his name is Sean Aker. And in his newer book, he was talking about within organizations, they did a bunch of research and measurements and found that on average, there's more positive than negative in a lot of organizations. They said the problem they found is that the negative things that would happen were so much louder than the positive things that would happen. And so what's interesting is, how do we make positivity louder? And something he prescribed or subscribed is really simple. He said, for the most part, when something negative happens, people kick and scream and yell and shout about it. The news and media focuses in and then amplifies and goes, oh my gosh. And I told a little story on the podcast today where I was in London, and my wife and I, she's right back there. If you're looking over my shoulder, that's my beautiful wife studying to be a pilot. And so proud of her. So in London, my wife and I were walking through the park, and we looked across the park, and we saw, it looked like a bonfire. We were like, oh, that's cool. Someone's having a bonfire in the park. There's probably like 40, 50 people gathered around it. We're like, that's pretty cool. Looks kind of cozy. I grew up in San Diego. In San Diego, we have bonfires on the beach, and people kind of gather around. So I was like, that looks kind of fun. And as we got closer and closer, we realized that was not a bonfire. And we realized they were not gathered around in a friendly manner. They were picketing around a little fire in the park. But there's only probably 40, 50 people there. Not a big deal. Now, when we got back to our hotel room, we turned on the news to see what it was. And in the news, it said, massive protest in the park, huge demonstration, massive groups of people protesting of what was going on. And I was like, that's weird. And I saw the video they chose, and the video is basically like if they zoomed in on this one little part over here of the screen, they made it look like this massive demonstration, when in reality, there was like 50 people in the park. I was like, wow, how often do we do that? How often does something happen in our life? And, there's a funny quote, which is, did you have a bad day, or did you have a bad 5 minutes that you milked for the rest of the day? And it's one of my favorite little thoughts, because more often than not, if someone feels like there's more negative in the world than positive, normally something's happened that they're focusing on and then amplifying for however long they want to amplify it. And so today, The cure to this, per Sean Aker, who's a researcher at Harvard, he said we need to become prisms of praise, like a light prism. If you have a little crystal, the little prism, when the light hits it, it magnifies the light in all directions. And he says in organizations, when they want to create a culture shift from negative to positive, they want to create prisms of praise. And what a prism of praise is people who are championed and supported and rewarded for getting very loud about the positive and good stuff going on in the company. And so I would suggest for all of you on here to become prisms of praise, meaning we want to get really loud about all the good stuff that's going on. Now, what would prevent us from getting really loud about the good stuff a lot of times is what we've been taught growing up. I know that I grew up going to church, and in church, people would say, go do good works humbly as a humble servant, meaning you want to stay quiet about the good stuff you're doing. You want to be humble about it. You don't want to boast or be loud about it. And being boastful is bad. And, really, truly, filming something or being loud about giving or being kind is a bad thing. Now, I agree. Egotistically, that's not what it's about. But how, and I'd love your opinion in the comment section, how can we choose as a community to get really loud about positive stuff without letting our egos or emotions get tied up in it? How can we get really loud so that when someone does an act of kindness, bam, we get loud about it. We post it everywhere. We talk about it. We say, oh my gosh, you got to hear about this story. And we use, folklore. We use, how legend, folklore, and myth. So how we communicate things in the world so often back in the day before the internet and social media existed, before the news existed, was you needed to tell stories to each other. You need to retell good things to each other so that the legend continued. So I would ask, number one, make a decision to become a prism of praise, meaning anytime you see something good happen, immediately take it and share it and spread the good news to other people. Number one. Number two is start spreading good folklore stories and legend and myth, meaning every time you hear a good story, every time you hear a good situation, every time you hear about some act of kindness in the world, gather it up and make it a point that the next person you sit down with in a meeting, the next person you go meet with, the next client you cross paths with, to spread the legend, to tell the story of something you've heard and allow it to spread like folklore. Allow it to spread like a legend would. The legend of, William Wallace in Braveheart. I've heard he's 10 feet tall. I've heard he can, with a single swipe of his sword, kill 1,000 men. The folklore, the legend, the myth. Allow that to become part of your daily conversation, that every time you hear a good thing that happens, you immediately share it with someone in some kind of beautiful way that allows it to continue to ripple into the world. So two things. Number one, become a prism for praise. Number two, spread folklore and legend, meaning gather up good things from today. Every day make it a point to say, what's one or two good things that happened today? Gather them, and tomorrow make it the point to share the goodness with as many people as you can through folklore, story, and legend, and pass it on so that it can literally spread. Okay, that's it. I'm going to wrap up and go have dinner with my beautiful wife who's sitting behind me waiting for me. Hope you guys have an amazing morning, evening, afternoon. Spread some legends, some stories, some folklore, and some awesomeness into the world. And I will see you all tomorrow for day number 57 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. See